Hi, Junior Rangers. How's it going? My name is Alex, and I am an interpreter here at Castle Rock, beautiful Castle Rock State Park, here in the Santa Cruz Mountains of California. If you're not from around here, haven't heard of us, don't know where we're at, I'll give you a little more context about exactly where we're at a little later into the program. So just sit tight for that. Um, First, what I wanted to do was I wanted to take a second to acknowledge the peoples, the Ohlone peoples. Um, it was a number of their tribes and village sites that was very close to the park here. And in fact, we are in the ancestral tribal lands of a few different villages and tribal sites, including the Achistaka and the Sayanta of the Ohlone language family of California Indians. So I want to thank them, both the traditional Ohlone people and their descendants who survive today, and thank them for our ability to use their land as an educational, interpretive, and recreational tool. So I want to thank them. Now, I also want to welcome you all to Castle Rock's very first virtual Junior Rangers program of the summer. Thank you for coming. Now, Junior Rangers, very important. Really, it means something. Now, what does it mean, you might ask? That's a perfectly fair question. If you haven't done Junior Rangers before, Junior Rangers is normally a program where you come to the park and then meet with an interpreter like me. It's for 7 to 12-year-olds only, and we'll do activities like go on a hike, that kind of thing. Now, of course, with the current coronavirus situation, we decided the safest and best way to do that is through interactive programs like these. So thank you very much for not only continuing to enjoy and learn about the park, but from doing it from a socially distant, safe, and responsible from a healthcare side kind of way. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. Normally I'd be wearing my mask, but as you can see, nobody around me right now. It's kind of a busy day, but the trail's a little over there, so I've got some good separation going myself. So excellent. Okay, thank you all for joining. Now, this program is all about rocks. Here at Castle Rock, I mean, we like rocks so much that we literally named the park after one of the rocks you find here. We think they're just so awesome. We really think that rocks rock. And so I think I'm gonna try to make that case for you as well. Now, I only get internet in this very small part of the park. So what I've done is I've recorded a number of videos, photos of the park and of different cool locations I'm going to share with you to really complete the virtual tour. So we're not just doing it here from this one spot. I suspect you guys really want to go see a little bit more of the park. Now, a quick word about Zoom. So for everyone's safety, we've disabled the chat room function, but we do still have the Q&A function working. And that way you can ask questions or give comments directly to me rather than to the whole group. So if you do have any questions or comments, anything that you'd like to say to me, go ahead, put that in the QA section. There's a little button with the, like the talking speech bubble. Go ahead and put it in there, and I will get to it as soon as I can. I've got it open right now, so I'll know when I get some action on there. All right. Okay, now the other thing I wanted to start with was, as Junior Rangers, we are all about learning and protecting the natural and cultural resources of our various parks. And we take that very seriously. So the first thing I would like to get started with is actually, if you would join me in the Junior Ranger Pledge. Okay, so I'm going to flip the screen a little bit, okay, and share with you the Junior Ranger Pledge. So let me go over it real quick, and then we'll all kind of give it together. So it is, so we kind of raise your right hand like you're in court, and we go, I, your name. So I would say, I, Alex. I didn't know your name, so I just put your name. Promise to treat the earth and all living things with care and respect. Be careful of what I do and how it affects others, and learn about the importance of nature and our heritage. So as Junior Rangers, we're caring, we're protecting, we're being active, but we're also learning because the more you learn, the more you know, the better you can do to protect and share these resources. So if you are willing to take this pledge with me, then go ahead and raise your own right hand and say the pledge along with me. Let's go. Should we do 3, 2, 1? Let's do 3, 2, 1. Okay. 3, 2, 1. I, Alex, promise to treat the earth and all living things with care and respect, be careful of what I do and how it affects others, and learn about the importance of nature and our heritage. Okay, congratulations. You're now a junior ranger. If you weren't already, that is. Okay, now let's show where we're at right now. So we are once again at beautiful Castle Rock State Park in the Santa Cruz Mountains of California. If you're not familiar with California or with the area of California we're in right now, you probably, actually, I would guess you might be a little more familiar than you think. If you've heard of San Francisco, for instance, right there, at near the top of the map area there. So that is San Francisco right there. And so you'll notice we are definitely south of that, but not too far, hour and a half or so, depending on traffic. Closer to the other Bay Area, the South Bay city of San Jose, if you've heard of that one, or a little bit north of Santa Cruz, famous surf town down on the Monterey Bay, Santa Cruz, California. And that is actually, we are technically in Santa Cruz County, where we're kind of right between Santa Cruz County and Santa Clara. So that is where we're at, that red dot right there. Beautiful Castle Rock State Park. You'll notice lots of opportunities for recreation listed on the map there. So that is where we're at, just in case you didn't know. Now, I want to share with you one of the main features of our park. Like I said, we're Castle Rock State Park. This right here I'm about to show you is the rock that we named this place after. This is the Castle Rock. So we're going to take a look here, get a nice full viewing. Here it is. So definitely I want you to take a look kind of at the rock itself. Okay, notice the features of it. You can see that's a little cave right there. We're going to talk about all this much more, but I want to give everybody a real good first shot. So this is Castle Rock, just about a mile and a half or so from where I am at right now, where the good Wi-Fi is. You can see it's in among the trees, nice little forested area. Oaks and madrones and stuff, largely. A few redwoods here and there. Okay, so that it was the Castle Rock, and we'll talk a little bit more about the makeup of the rock and how it was formed in a minute. But first, let's give you a little more context about the park. Here's another very cool, very iconic rock in the park, rock formation. This is Goat Rock. A lot of people think it has the best view in the whole park, possibly in the whole mountains area, as you can see out the bay on a clear day. We'll check the view from the top in a little bit, but I wanted to give you a context. This is a good one you can hike to out on the Ridge Trail here. You can do it actually from where I'm sitting in about a 3-mile loop right now. And of course, oh, here's a little taste of it. So this is a different spot. This is not Goat Rock, but this gives you a little taste of the ridge views we have at the park. Those are kind of the two iconic, highlights of the place that most people come for, is the views and the rocks themselves. Here's another shot of our ridges here. You can tell a little less rocky at this point. We do have more kind of oak meadows and some of our ridge locations. And even when you go down, of course, into the forest, inescapable. You've got a very unique geology going on. And because of that geology and the seismic activity going on that we'll talk about a little bit more, it's a very popular park for rock climbers, for rock climbing. You can see that climber on the left there is rocking it right now. Because rocks rock. Okay. So we do have a number of different climbing spots, and usually we don't have trails going out there, but there are maps where you can kind of access where a lot of these cool spots are if rock climbing is your thing, of course, make sure that you're following all rules, all safety procedures, if you are. But this is a very popular hike for rock climbing and bouldering. And so lots of different places to do that here. Okay, now time for a little plate tectonic snack break. Now, I talked about how the geology of the park and the seismic activity is what makes it so unique, and which gives us our rock formations, our great climbing opportunities. So how did that get here, you might be asking? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm going to show you. Plate tectonics is the answer. Plate tectonics is the reason why we are here in the mountains that are still growing. So if you don't know what plate tectonics are, basically, if you think about all of the lands on the world, okay, it all sits on these tectonic plates, okay? Huge, vast underground shelves of rock, okay, deep, deep below the surface, deep, deep, impossibly deep below the surface, okay? And those plates, okay, are floating essentially on an ocean of magma, okay? And so what happens is those plates, there's a bunch of different plates on the Earth, a bunch of these huge plates. Sometimes they run into each other and interact in different ways. And where they run into each other and interact, we usually refer to as fault lines. Right? And that is where you have the creation of mountains. Okay? The fault lines create earthquakes. The earthquakes push up the mountains. Now, I have a little illustration for you, if you will, demonstration, a tasty one that might get you a little, like, understanding this concept a little bit. I'm going to point down here. I have here Oreos, okay? And so if you have any Oreos at home, or I suppose you could do this with like peanut butter crackers or anything where you got a nice kind of like creamy layer there and the two cookies. So if you're able to, go ahead and follow along at home. Go ahead and grab your Oreos or other cookies that might work. Or if not, that's okay. I know I kind of sprung this on you, kind of surprised you with it. So just go ahead and you can do this later next time you do have any cookies. And doesn't have to be Oreo. Any of the generic ones will do. Not recommending anything specifically, but the cookies or crackers like this do work for the demonstration I'm about to do. Okay, so let's get back on our tectonic plates. Okay, so I have two tectonic plates right here. Okay, the one with the cream, all right, is the North American plate. Okay, so all of the cream is all of the land, okay, of North America, and the cookie part, the dark cookie part there, is the tectonic plate, far below the surface, floating on that ocean of magma. Okay, now when you have plates running into each other, as the North American and Pacific plates were millions of years ago, one started going under the other, and that's called subduction. Right? And so when you have that happening, you can see, you can see as the Pacific plate subducts under the North American plate, you get this uplift. The cream is pushing up. That is your mountains. Okay. Now, that was about 15 million years ago starting, and then a few million years ago, you get the Pacific plate starting to actually slide along the North American plate, which continues to create that uplift in slightly different ways, creates earthquakes, and it creates these Santa Cruz Mountains, which are still growing. They're only about 15 million years old, as I said, and that is kind of like being a teenager, kind of like, as far as mountains are concerned, it's like being a 15-year-old person. You're still growing, getting big, getting up there, but surely not fully grown like maybe the Sierras or the Rockies or other mountain ranges like that. Okay? So that is subduction, and then a transform boundary. So that's just two ways that tectonic plates can interact and create mountains and geology like we have here. Okay. All right, so that is our first little geology lesson. Why don't we enjoy our plate tectonic snack, though? And while we do, let's see if we have a little entertainment for everybody. Oh, yes. In fact, we do. I have a little musical entertainment for everybody. Without further ado, I would like to introduce live from the Castle Rock and performing a hit from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's own Righteous Brothers. This is the Saxplorer. Saxplorer, take it away. Wow, thanks, Saxplorer. That was great. A little windy up at the Rock today. Okay, all right, let's get right back into it. Now, talked about plate tectonics. Now, that's not just geology. Geology is also talking about the rocks on the surface as well as below the surface that we can't see. And those rocks below the surface have a lot to do with the seismic activity, the earthquakes, the formation of the mountains, like we just talked about. On the surface, though, those rocks that we can see are also very interesting. And there's two things that I really want you to take away, two words, I guess I want you to learn about in terms of our rocks. First one, sandstone. That is what the rocks, most of the rocks we have here are Vaqueros sandstone, to be specific. And the second word, very important, probably haven't heard this one before, is Tefoni. Now, the Tefoni simply refers to the holes and the caves in the sandstone, very common. And so I've got a couple pictures there that you can see. Tefoni does refer, not, the little holes and the bigger caves. And now we don't have, huge, extensive cave networks here, but we do have, caves that can, fit multiple people inside. You can kind of crawl inside some of the rock formations. You do get some good little caves, but, whether it's a little hole or a little cave, that is all Tefoni. And it's created by a very important process. Really, the driving force behind that is the water. Okay, so let's take a look. As promised, this is goat rock here. So you can see those impressions in the rock. Those are Tefoni. Now, it is August right now, those holes are currently very dry. This video I actually took back in May when it had been actually still sprinkling a little bit. So you'll see that some of the Tefoni still has, there you go. Oh, whoops. Shoot, messed that up. You can see that some of the Tefoni still has some water in it. So let's back up. Okay, there's a good Tefoni hole with some water in it. So this is how these holes and caves are formed over hundreds and thousands of years. What happens is the sandstone, being largely made out of sand particles, is very porous, lots of holes, so the water can get in. Okay, so when the water gets in, okay, then eventually it dries out, when it gets warmer, and so the water is wicked away from the surface or to the surface, and it takes with it some of the other materials of the rock. Now, sandstone is not just like a solid rock. Don't think of it like that. It's not like marble or even like granite. Sandstone, if you think of it more actually like a brick wall, that's going to be helpful. A brick wall is not one solid, giant brick. A brick wall is many smaller bricks held together with mortar or cement. Okay, and so you can clearly see, here's a brick, and then here's a piece of cement. That is a lot like how our sandstones are formed, or are made up. So you have the harder, rockier minerals being connected together by more of a cementing minerals. In this case, it's actually fossilized ancient sea creatures, tiny little sea creatures, microscopic or macroinvertebrates that creates a calcium bicarbonate, and that is the cement of the rock. And so that is the cement, and that is the part that gets eroded and wicked away from the water. And so that comes out to the top. And so the top of these rocks, as you can see, look pretty rough. But on the inside, they start to get weaker and even sandy, and then start to erode and turn into the holes and caves that we were looking at. So that is why we get the unique rock formations here with these very cool Tectonics. Okay, now, as promised, here is a shot of the view. Whoops, messed it up again, you guys. I'm sorry. Okay, here is a shot again of the view from Goat Rock. So you can see it's basically hanging off the cliff on the ridge there. There's forest all around. Beautiful views. As I said, this was in May, so we had a little bit of cloud cover, a little bit of sprinkliness. But you can see the Santa Cruz Mountains and even a tiny little bit of the bay out there. If you see anything flying around the screen, those are turkey vultures. Very popular around here. Love to just cruise the friendly skies. Okay. Oh, looks like I have a Q&A. A question that I missed. How do rocks become stone? Rocks and stone, typically we use as synonym individual words. But it can happen a lot of different ways. But the sandstone that we have, as I mentioned, is formed because we actually used to be underwater here. And as the ocean, over millions of years lowered, the sand was exposed. I mentioned the tiny sea creatures, fossilized, that become kind of the cement of the sandstone. So that's where we get our rocks here. Other rocks are formed in different ways. Can be like volcanic or sedimentary. And so that is the kind of sandstone we have here. And then, as I explained, that's how we get the Tectonics, those very kind of distinctive markings and holes. So great question. Okay. All right. Now, let's continue on. So that was the view again from Goat Rock. Here is Castle Rock Falls. So as I said, the water is really particularly important to the rock formations and the landscape here at Castle Rock. We have a number of creeks here, including Castle Rock Creek, which is the one that feeds this one here. And being the sandstone that I mentioned, it's a particularly vulnerable. It erodes quite a bit faster than harder rocks like maybe say granite does, and so you get quicker effects of the landscape. It can happen in hundreds or even a few thousands of years as opposed to many thousands and millions of years. So the picture on the left here is the top of Castle Rock Falls, and you can see it's the same kind of sandstone that we've just been looking at, and the creek coming out there. And here's a little bit, I'm going to play a little video of the creek running. That's nice, isn't it? So that's from the bottom of Castle Rock Falls. And that rock face there is a favorite when open for people to climb. So is the bottom of Castle Rock Falls right there. Okay. Okay. Oh, got another question. How do rocks get their name? That's a really great question. The easy answer is from geologists, the scientists who study rocks, rock formations, plate tectonics, like I was talking about. So they name them. Sometimes it's pretty easy, makes a lot of sense, like the sandstone we have here. Sand is basically, one of the building blocks, and this was, in fact, as I said before, underwater. It was all sand, kind of beach before the oceans lowered and the Santa Cruz Mountains formed up out of them. So sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes, things can be named after people. Sometimes it can be named very scientifically, where lay people like us who maybe haven't been trained in it won't necessarily know what the name is. Like, not really sure, where Grant comes from. But for rocks, since rocks have been around a really long time, obviously much longer than humans. As long as humans have been around, rocks have been around much longer. So sometimes these names can get, are just very old names. But sometimes they're very clear and descriptive, like sandstone. But the short answer there is that scientists, geologists, the people who know the most and who spend their lives studying these things tend to be the ones who name them. So great question. Okay, let us continue right along. Love that creak noise, very relaxing. Fall asleep to that, but I won't, I promise. All right. Okay. All right, now this is my email right here. So we're getting kind of close to the end here. So if you have any questions or anything that you would like to ask me after this is done, that is where you can reach me. And if you are perhaps watching this later, you're not here on Zoom, but you're watching this on one of our social media websites that I'm going to put this video up on later. We have a Facebook and an Instagram and a YouTube page, so you can find us there. Portola and Castle Rock. Portola is another one of the state parks up here that we kind of do a lot of things together. Now, here's the thing. If you are watching this on Zoom, then I can see how long you've been watching, and then I'm going to go ahead and send you one of our very own digital stamps, our Junior Ranger stamps. So that you can prove that you did this program here with us. Now, the stamps, the way they work is if you go to another program, a different program, you'll get another stamp. And if you get different stamps, you starting at, I believe, 4 stamps, you start to get prizes. So I'm going to send an email to everybody who was on this Zoom, to the email that you registered on. And to anybody who emails me at portolacastlerock@gmail.com answering that question there, what's the name of the holes and caves and the rocks here? You send me that, and I will send you an email with your stamp and more information on the prizes and how all that stuff works. All right, so there's that. All right, now I just want to make sure I don't forget anything here. Okay, so great. So that is the end of our Junior Rangers program for now. Let me see if I have any last questions in the Q&A. And looks like we got at least one participant. That is correct, Sam. The Tefoni is the answer. Now, if you've been on this the whole time, no worries. I'm going to email you that. If you haven't, email me at Portola Castle Rock there, and I'll make sure to get you that stamp. Great. Okay. Well, that looks like the last of the questions here. Now, this has been Rocks Rock, our Junior Rangers. I'm going to leave you with one more rock, if you will, and that is going to be our last performance by the Saxplorer. Saxplorer, what do you got for us? You got anything for us here? All right, everybody. So I'll put that email back up just in case you're just joining us at the end and you want to get your question in so you can get your digital stamp. Everybody else, look out for an email from me soon. And from that email there for your digital badge stamp. Well, that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Alex here from beautiful Castle Rock State Park, where we really think that rocks rock. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.